When walking into my ideal classroom, it will be bright, warm, and inviting. Visitors will be able to see this right as they walk through the handmade decorated door. The classroom will be divided into many different centers, including reading, writing, science and math, and dramatic play. These centers will include individual and collaborative learning areas. My classroom will be inclusive and provide accessibility to all areas. Materials will be organized, ready, and abundant for all students. Most of the seating in my classroom will include options of comfortable seating, such as wobble chairs at tables, couches, and beanbags. The walls will be filled with colorful posters and artwork made by the students. It is important that my students, fellow teachers, and visitors feel welcomed as they step through my door. My classroom will embrace the idea that all students can and do have the right to learn and are capable to do so. As a teacher, I will work to build a safe learning space for all students. The enthusiasm of my teaching in my classroom will be evident and contagious. I will encourage my students to be involved in the classroom discussions and be willing to make those mistakes to become even better as a student. As a teacher, I will always seem to be in control and be proactive. I will not show frustration, and even in case of misbehavior, the problem will be handled seriously but calmly. As a teacher, I will make curriculum relevant to the lives of my students. I will work hard to develop authentic measures for assessing student learning, and I will evaluate and be aware and assess the students' progress and accomplishments. In the classroom, we will celebrate these accomplishments. As a teacher, I will work to have a good relationship with my students and their parents. It will be important for me to be able to communicate with my students and their parents and for them to feel comfortable and safe around me.
One year I came up with a bright idea. I told all my students, you were chosen to be in my class. Because I am the best teacher and you are the best students, they put us all together so we could show everybody else how to do it. One of the students said, really? I said, really? We have to show the other classes how to do it. So when we walk down the hall, people will notice us. So you can't make noise, you just have to strut. And I gave him a saying to say, I am somebody. I was somebody when I came. I'll be a better somebody when I leave. I am powerful and I am strong. I deserve the education that I get here. I have things to do, people to impress, and places to go. And they said, yeah. You say it long enough, it starts to be a part of you.
My students will be able to meet and feel secure in my classroom and learn from each other. They will know I am one of their biggest supporters, and they will always be welcomed by peers and by myself without fear of judgment. My students will know exactly what is expected of them, and routines will be evident. My students will be aware of consequences of bad behavior in the classroom and towards their peers. My students will be encouraged to be engaged in meaningful activities in the classroom and be motivated by challenges and want to reach their goals. Students will be able to see themselves succeeding in my classroom.
You build relationships with your kiddos every day and just the small things you do. Greeting them at the door, asking them how their night was. But then you take it a step beyond that and you get personal with them. You find out what they like, what they enjoy. You find out about their family. You try to go to their basketball games or their baseball games. I really approach it as, they're with me 7 hours out of the day. I'm their school mama. And that's just kind of how I view my relationship with the kiddos, and so I want it to be a good relationship. And sometimes you've got to take those extra steps for those kiddos who are resistant to making relationships. You've got to really find what you can get in there and connect with those kiddos, because relationships are the most important factor in student success. So yes, stress is definitely a part of teaching with students and with their learning. And you just have to remember that these are kids, and they are going to get overwhelmed. You are going to have kiddos who cry. You are going to have those kiddos that are worried about things. And the best thing you can do as a teacher is not to ignore it, but to address it, And so when I have kids that are crying because they're overwhelmed or they're in an argument with someone, or even if they've had to go to the safe seat, it's best to talk to them and then give them a break. I'll say to kids, you know what, I think you need to, let's go take a bathroom break right now. Or, hey, can you go run this errand down to the office? And just get them out of that situation. And it kind of gives them a moment to breathe. It makes them realize, okay, it's okay to cry. It's okay to have this. But then I've got to come back in and be okay. And you just have that conversation with the kiddos and let them know that, you know what, I stress out too. And sometimes you're going to see that from me too, guys. And we all need to just help each other. And sometimes we just need a break. Again, it's your students who drive everything you do in your classroom, especially your layout of the room. My school has moved to more flexible seating options. So in my classroom, I don't have a lot of desks. I have a couch. I have some comfy chairs. I have wobble chairs, and those are fantastic for those kiddos that just have a lot of energy and need to move constantly, and so they can sit and wobble in chairs. And you're just constantly thinking of that. It'd be nice to let kiddos select where they want to sit, but that doesn't always happen. Sometimes you've got to have seating charts, and so I just kind of take into consideration, while everybody likes the wobble stools, who actually needs them, who needs to constantly be moving around. And then setting up your classroom, you've got to make sure you have, different areas. You've got an area for your small group. You've got an area on the carpet for large groups to come together. You've got student workstations where they can go work by themselves independently. So you've just really got the classroom setup. It's a lot more work, I think, than people realize. It's not just about making your classroom cute, which of course is very important as well, but it's about making sure that it actually works for your students and is going to allow them to be comfortable and to be successful. As a reading teacher, this is actually pretty easy for me to do. When selecting passages and things to use with my students and some more complex text, I'm going to get things from a wide variety of genres. And so we're going to read, we've read Chuck Close before, and that's about a painter with a severe disability. He cannot, he's in a wheelchair. He cannot paint. It's uneasy for him to get around and do things. And so we read about his life, and so that goes into fine arts. And we get a lot of articles about good nutrition and health and work that into what we're doing with kiddos. In fact, we have an entire unit on that. So when you're teaching reading, yes, you want to teach your reading strategies and you want to teach those reading skills, but you can always be incorporating other areas into that, including your science and math as well.
I will build relationships by taking the time to really get to know my students and their parents. By getting to know my students and their parents, it will show them that I truly care about them and want them to succeed. To address students' needs and differences, I will begin assessing my students from the first day they enter my classroom. To address these differences, I will use the theory of multiple intelligences to determine how my students will learn the best. To include health and fine arts in my classroom, I will work to bring in a variety of reading materials for my students. I will incorporate assignments where my students create projects and artwork. For health, I will make sure to have lessons that are highly interactive and give students a chance to move around.
How powerful would our world be if we had kids who were not afraid to take risks, who were not afraid to think, and who had a champion? Every child deserves a champion, an adult who will never give up on them, who understands the power of connection and insists that they become the best that they can possibly be.